Welcome back to Owl Dragon Adventures. I'm Scott Kegler.
And I'm Rob McPherson.
And this is our review of Rogue Angels. Preview review for a game that is currently out on Kickstarter. That's Rogue Angels. We meant to get a video on this a little earlier, but we had some COVID household issues, so.
Yep.
But we're very excited to get this table and try it out. We played it together, and I played it some solo. And this is a game of Rogue Angels by Sun Tzu Games. It is set in the same universe as a previous game, Burning Suns, from the same publisher, which is a 4X game. So instead of a competitive game, it is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players.
Yep. Yeah, so the designer reached out and asked if we wanted to give this a try, and I was an immediate sell on it because A, it's a campaign game, and I love my campaign games, and B, it is its tagline, or its not tagline, but it's a kind of selling point is it's like if Mass Effect were a board game. And which I gotta say, that's a pretty high bar to set for yourself with the two of us in terms of
big fan of Mass Effect.
Yeah,
but shortly after playing it, I definitely saw those vibes. Absolutely. So in the game, you are a party of characters where you're each choosing a unique character that has its own backstory, which is very elaborate. I'll probably be saying the word robust quite a bit during this review because there is a lot of content, a lot of story and theme behind everything. You're choosing one of these characters that, have not generic, but like archetypal type roles. You have human military fighter, you have alien sniper, you've got tech alien character, and there's like a samurai type character as well, like an alien samurai who you played.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember the name of him. I apologize. I'm terrible with names in real life, let alone names of characters in.
Yeah, so but you're basically going. It's a bit of a dungeon crawler, but in Mass Effect universe where you are doing skirmishes, solving puzzles in rooms by interacting with objects. So, like a lot of games in this way, in those fashions, that part is not a unique part of the gameplay. Where the game starts to really have where it shines and where it is the most fun is how the character boards function. Yeah. And the way that it works is it's a hand management game like Gloomhaven, where you're going to have a hand of cards and you are playing them based on a timer here below your player board.
So each card is going to have in the upper left-hand corner here a number on it, and that's how many action points really it takes to play. You can kind of think of it as. So if it's a 1, after you play it, you're going to place it in the 1 timer, which means that 1 turn later, it's going to fall off that track, and you're going to be able to take it back in your hand.
Well, actually, the end of your turn, it'll fall off.
Oh, yeah. So, excuse me. Yeah, the end of your turn.
Because you rest at the end of your turn. So that part is really interesting, especially as you start to take damage in fights. There's going to be enemies, and as they hurt you, they do damage, and it also times out on you as well, and it fills up your player space. So eventually, you have so much damage that you really can't play any cards. Yeah. If you do, that's how you fall unconscious.
Right.
But like a video game, if you are able to rest, everything shifts over, and that's how damage falls off. So it's like that health bar in games where that you don't actually have hit points, but if you lose too much, you get kind of like you fall to a knee, you have to wait to regenerate. That's how it works, and I really got a kick out of that.
Yeah, no, I really liked not having hit points to track or anything like that. And each of the cards, the damage cards have flavor text on them, and you can play them. Each card has a normal mode, a hard mode, and an insane mode, which I got to be honest, I didn't even read the insane mode because
they're bad enough.
We like games. We're not really always good at games.
and it's a game of exploration as much as it is like a tactical skirmish.
Yeah, so I really, really adored the combat system. I really think that the way that the damage flows through it just kind of clogs you up, almost like how a damage works in like deck building games. Just different.
And the other area where this shines is this map book. It is enormous, and there are 100 different maps. It's quite a lot. It
starts to go into X numbers, so I can't.
It's pretty. There's a lot of maps. And for me, this should be like the gold standard for this type of game.
Absolutely, and it's becoming it. I'm seeing more and more campaign games do it.
Because it's just the biggest pain with campaign games, not only does it take up a lot of time,
tile placement at the beginning.
Well, tile placement, like you're already investing many hours as a group if you're going to dive into a campaign game, or you're playing a solo, friends, like you want to just jump into the game. Like, hey, we're going to play Rogue Angels. I want to just jump into it. This saves you so much time. Yes, there's other things you might have to place on top of it, but not having to go back and forth. Like, I need 7A. Does anybody have 7A? And you're all hunting for it. Like that takes out a little bit of fun. It's like one of my favorite games is Cthulhu: Death May Die, and
setup takes a while.
It takes a little while. It's like a 10-minute setup.
Yeah.
So that's huge for me. I really like that. Also, from a gameplay side, the writing is really solid. This is the campaign book. I mean, again, none of this is final,
part of the campaign book.
That's true.
Because it does say at the back here, download the next chapter here.
True.
So it's extensive. I think there's still some formatting going on in here to shorten it up a little bit. Like the dialogue is it reminds me of reading a screenplay.
Nice.
Because it's very much just like a lot of space between, which is fine. I like how the missions are broken up into briefings, so you have the moments like you have little objectives to get through on the way. I thought the campaign book was really well laid out. I never questioned much about it. It really helped us flow through.
But I also love the origin stories that are written on the characters and these relationship sheets that you can fill out to build your relationships with members of your crew, different organizations. And it is just, again, I said before, it's robust throughout the game. So there is
going to be over 80 missions, according to the Kickstarter page, that you will be able to play through. So if you're looking for a good, extensive campaign game
with low setup time, and this also is a cool thing. It's actually a full box in the production copy, but this is your ship, and it'll be like off to the side of the board, and you get to modify it and do other actions here on the ship as well. Very cool. So accessibility, it's pretty straightforward. We got hung up on one thing, and we sent some feedback on rules because it's not final. We were kind of grinding on something in our first play.
Yeah, so the wording of in this current iteration of the actions was that you could take these 3 actions, and you could take 2 of the 3 actions, but it didn't specify whether or not you could repeat any of those actions. The clarity is that you can, and that
as long as there's a card that would fall off, which zeros would automatically fall off.
Right.
Which is movement. So we were basically getting hung up on, like, can I only move once a turn?
Right. So, and anytime you would play a card, like if I played a 3 and then I wanted to play another 3, it just goes in the 4 slot.
Correct.
So there is ways that you can do it. And so that answer made it all of a sudden click, like, oh, okay, this is not grindy. This is just, okay, it's actually really streamlined. So that was an important question. But other than that.
Oh, I also like the gameplay, going back to that for a second. The personality track over here, I can't remember exactly what it's called, or diagram. This is where you get to, as you personalize your character, you based on what kind of traits they have, they get these little boost tokens, and those can be used on as you're playing your action cards. They have like special abilities. So if I have the red, which is like, I think it's like the tough guy or rage one.
So for sticky grenade, normally it would be choose an enemy within 3 spaces, move the enemy 1 space, and deal 2 damage to all objects within 1 space of the enemy. But if you have the red trait, you can add a damage to that.
Yeah.
The blue trait, you can push them further.
Right. So it's just a way to, like, again, personalize your character, not just like what cards you get for your deck, but like how you're going to manipulate those cards.
Yeah, and I like that it seems a little bit more streamlined than the way, say, like Gloomhaven does it, which is you just get a new card that is the exact same card, it just
does it more.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that you can just tweak things with it as opposed to just.
And do I want to do more damage, or do I want to have more control in the battle?
Right.
But I can still play the same military guy. I don't have to play, like in a Gloomhaven, I don't have to switch over to a different class to do that.
Yeah.
So really like that. Accessibility, we were saying, it's very easy to follow. This makes life easier. Design, it's tough to say with a Kickstarter copy of a game where we land. I like a lot of the choices I'm seeing already in the design.
Yep. I like the iconography is great. It's straightforward. Like we had a few questions as we were going through the rules because Scott and I don't always follow the rules line by line as we're reading through.
It's also hard because you're dealing with a lot of proxies.
Yeah.
So the rule book has the iconographies are photos of what the components are supposed to look like, but then you're like, these are fine, but this is not the final boost.
Yep. And it did take us 10 minutes to realize that he say translation guy.
Yeah,
the proxies. That's on us.
That's on us because there's a lot in the box.
But the iconography on the dice, like we were like, well, can we do this and this? And we rolled the dice. And we looked around, like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. Like we saw it and it made it and it clicked.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot at first, but I do like the design choices. I like a lot of the art choices. It does have that Mass Effect feel. I mean, just from like the box, it has very dramatic space battles happening. Firefights.
I love the art on the box.
So big fan of that.
We got to skip quality.
Yeah, we can't talk about quality other than some choices here. There's a lot going on, but finally value.
It appears during editing we had a little bit of some technical difficulties that corrupted the last part of this file. So I'm just going to pick up here where Scott and I left off a minute ago. So we are moving on to the value of the game. So right now the Kickstarter is live and you can get the full game for $115, which is going to get you the entire 80 plus missions that we are talking about, the miniatures for the players, and then the standees for the rest of everything. Looks to be a great deal in my opinion. Take into account things like Gloomhaven and Frosthaven is closer to the $200 mark. In fact, most of my campaign games that I have are much higher. So I'm pretty impressed with what he's going to be packing in at the $115 level. If you are crazy ambitious, there is also a print and play option. So for $15, you can get all the files and print it out yourself. I can see, like, if you have a tablet and you want to, just keep the campaign book as a tablet and then print just some of the parts that you can play with, you can probably get away with that. Definitely something to keep in mind. I might give that a try. I know Scott has gotten full edition of the game, so I might get the print and play just to see what I can do. In fact, my table here does have a TV in it, so maybe that's why I can do the maps. Sorry, thinking as I go through things. So I think that the value is absolutely going to be there. This is I do love campaign games, so the idea of getting 80 missions for $115 is a as usual with previews like this, especially ones that we get the prototype copies. We don't like to give a full number on them, but Scott and I both do agree that if you love campaign games and you loved Mass Effect, I think that this really does live up to the pitch, which was Mass Effect in board game fashion. So if that's something that interests you, the link to the Kickstarter is going to be down below, so go ahead and give that a click and give them a follow on there. If you like what you saw here, please do give a like and subscribe down below. And as usual, thank you for joining us on our board game adventures.